Ready?
Oh, yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Film Asylum. We are recording here live from the Loomis Room. We are your hosts, Colin Peters,
John Rochetter,
and Jeff Manfred. I'm not saying it this time.
I like to keep my enemies confused. You'd think I'm going to say something different, but no, not today.
I was expecting something stupid, and I was already ready to say it, but...
That's why the hesitation and the look.
I love this show. But we're in the Halloween spirit, and we're going to keep this Halloween train moving. Today we're going to be talking about the one and only Elvira. Not just the movie, but Elvira in general.
So essentially you're talking about... wow. I'm just going to stop there. No.
I mean, it's okay. You know, sometimes you get a loss of words after just viewing Elvira's talent.
I know, her talent. I was going to say, we're actually going to talk about Cassandra Peterson and Elvira, and my brain just totally drew a blank on her.
Elvira is played by an actress named Cassandra Peterson. She was born on September 17th, 1951, so that officially makes her 69 years young this year.
Yeah.
Ooh, 69.
Wasn't that last Thursday?
Yep.
I look at it.
Yeah, the day after I made the pitch, her birthday was the next day, and I had no idea. I was like, oh, guys, check it out.
These weird coincidences that just keep happening with all these reviews that we want to do. It's somebody's birthday or it's some anniversary. We have no idea.
Or a movie news announcement. I think Power Rangers, after we recorded that, they said they were going to reboot the franchise. And it was like, oh, they must have heard our show.
But I think Elvira alone was a big one, because even in the horror episode, I brought her up towards the end. I was like, even then, I was surprised we didn't mention her up to that point, because she's a big staple in the 80s, well, I said late 70s, early 80s, and then again currently.
Well, that's what makes her very unique, is that she is a symbol of the Halloween holiday. Mm-hmm. And I've heard her say in an interview where they said, what makes Elvira so relevant even to this day? She said, because I'm attached to a holiday.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that was also another reason why I heard her say that she never really did any other TV shows or other projects off to the side, because most of the time it would have been a pilot. You didn't know if you'd get picked up. She'd get paid actor scale, and she'd probably be shooting in the fall, which is prime time Elvira. So she would be, missing out on Elvira money if she would have done that. And so she just stuck with Elvira more, but it's worked out for her.
I'd say, honestly, and that's a very iconic character now, too. Like, if you think of Elvira, you think of Cassandra. Like, the funny thing is, like, right after we were talking about this episode and everything going on, I caught a trailer for a new Scooby-Doo movie where she is playing Elvira in the movie. And she has a big part. I was laughing about it because, like you said, coincidences. And I'm like, this better come out tomorrow. But funny thing is, it does come out on the first week in October, so it makes sense because it's called Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo.
Very cool.
Let's throw a party for it.
I know, I'm excited.
Not just like attached to the holiday, but she's also like this gorgeous, sexy icon that was just exploding everywhere in like the MTV scene. She almost like even like at that time, Freddy Krueger was becoming like that MTV sort of pop icon ever since the fourth movie going on. And it's not just her amazing sex appeal, but also she's incredibly funny. She's a very talented improvisational actress. I mean, she got her start with, or at least it was the Groundlings, the comedy troupe.
It was an underground comedy troupe out in L.A., I think, and she was with Paul Reubens, Phil Hartman, and another guy named John Paragon, which, if people know, Paul Reubens is Pee Wee Herman, and John Paragon was actually John B. Genie.
Oh,
and
okay.
John Paragon even helped on the Elvira show.
Mm-hmm. And she's also in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right?
Yes.
Yes, she is.
Did she play a biker chick or something like that?
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah, she did.
She has lived an interesting life even before Elvira. She was born in Randolph, Kansas, I believe. I think she said she was raised on a farm, and her mom and her aunt, I think, wound up owning a costume shop.
Okay.
And she said years, like growing up, she would just wear Halloween costumes year round. And why not, you know? And
Seriously.
she said that she would win like $100 bonds for costume contests because she would always have the best ones. And she kind of felt like an outsider because she always just did her own thing, and kids didn't get her and they thought she was weird. And she had a really cool story when she was putting together this scrapbook of like all these amazing pictures that she had of Elvira. And her mom sent her one where she had a scepter and a crown. And I believe she might have been wearing the colors orange and black. And her mom said, "Do you know what you were trying to be in this picture?" And she said, "No, what?" She said, "You were trying to be the Queen of Halloween."
Yeah, that is actually really fitting. Full circle.
That's
now.
really
Yeah.
cool.
After her time in Kansas, I think she wound up working as a go-go dancer at 14 years old. And she didn't even have a license, and she had a manager, though, who would say, like, go to North Dakota and other places. And she would drive herself to do these shows. And then she wound up becoming a Vegas showgirl at 17 years old, which she says on record, at least, I mean, who knows if the time changed or what, but that was the youngest showgirl out in Vegas at the time, and even got to meet Elvis. She said it was a date that she had with him one night, but there was like security all over, making sure like nothing happens, underage girls, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, he's the king, she's the queen, or the soon-to-be queen.
Yeah, exactly. And he actually gave her advice that said, if you want to make it in show business, you need to get out of Vegas.
That's
And
good advice.
And I believe that's when, yeah, especially after Showgirls. And then the movie I'm talking about. And then that's when she went to L.A. and got into the Groundlings, and that's where she met Paul Rubens and Phil Hartman and John Paragon. It was around that time frame she saw an audition for Elvira.
Okay.
And she was known for like even doing kind of sexy things even before that. Like the guys in the Groundlings had said if they needed a hooker or a prostitute, they'd just be like, "Yo, Cassandra, get over here." And she was all cool about it.
Mhm.
I think she was even a stripper in a Happy Days episode.
Yeah, she was.
Which is really funny because she even said, "Who plays a stripper on Happy Days? It's Happy Days." But oh, hey, get Cassandra Peterson to do it.
Man.
So when they said they needed this, like, a Vampira revival show and, you know, somebody to be sexy, she was like, "Okay, I don't mind." And she at first was kind of like, doesn't seem like it's going to last because the production value was kind of low. She was getting paid $300, I think, a week for it.
A week, okay.
But she said, "Hey, a starving artist, you're going to take what you can get."
Honestly, even during that time, $300 isn't that bad.
No, it's not.
1981, yeah.
Yeah.
That's more paying than most acting gigs now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them you just work for peanuts, and it's like, no, I got health insurance to pay for, I got car insurance, I got these bills to pay, and you want to give me peanuts for this walk-off role that's gonna require what, 2 months of rehearsal? No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we know about that, right, John?
Yeah, we do. We're in this business because we love the arts. We love them.
Yeah, no matter what, you can still enjoy yourself, even if it's not worth the money.
Yeah.
Sometimes not so much, though.
I know, like, wasn't, like, the actress, Mila, I think her name was, who was the original Vampira, wasn't she trying to, like, bring the character back in some sort of way? Was there some sort of conflict of interest?
I never heard of anything like that. I heard that when the Elvira show started taking off, she sued for look-alike.
The image, yeah.
But they're two totally separate things. And then I had read that the Vampira character was a ripoff of Morticia Addams, so you put your money where your mouth is and just let it be.
I mean, yeah, Carolyn Jones with Addams Family, you know, she kind of started it all. Then all of a sudden, like, Vampira took it in a televised direction, doing this whole, like, early stages of Movie Macabre where she would, like, present these really crappy movies and then just do kind of commentary here and there. And the image is the same, like the tiny, skinny waist, things like that. But yeah, Elvira took it to a notch 11 with the massive bouffant, with, you know, her talent showing all over the place, the low-cut skirt. I mean, it's night and day different.
Did you just say talent?
Because she never really talks about her gorgeous cans, she just kind of like says talent or some other sort of variation, and the camera just kind of zooms in on them. Like, it's pretty obvious what she's talking about.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of, out front in your face.
And she's one of the only major sex symbols in horror.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a couple of them, like Marilyn Monster, Morticia Addams, Vampira. They didn't have the same sort of sex appeal that Elvira does. That's why I think it's a thing for straight men that are just attracted to her, because she is a very sexy and attractive woman.
Oh, yeah.
And women just want to be her, which I think is really cool and inspiring. And she is a good symbol for like a strong feminine character, because she has her own show. She's the host. She can entertain everybody. She has guys and women Googling at her. She even has gay men who love her because of the drag concept. It's a really cool symbol, and what she's done with that character is really phenomenal.
And if there's like guys trying to get with her, she'll easily tell them off, or like she'll pour beer in their laps, like, get lost, asshole. Like, she's not easy. Like, she'll like egg men on, then she'll like totally diss them and disown them pretty much, and then just move on with her life. She's very strong in that element.
And on top of it, she's hilarious.
Very funny.
She's like so quick-witted and just like balls to the wall. We were talking about the Vampira character and the suing and all that stuff. I have heard on an interview with like a Johnny Carson. No, it was Joan Rivers.
Okay.
That maybe it was even a substitute, but I remember somebody had asked, "What are you?" And I think she had said her, like, the character was supposed to be her. I don't know if her dad was a warlock or a vampire, and her mom was a witch or a vampire. It was one of like the vice versa. I think that was supposed to be the thing.
A witch or a warlock. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'd say based on the movie, I think it was her mother that was the witch.
I know, like, the vampire, she tried to, like, keep her image up, because I think her show only lasted a year. There was some weird taboo that, like, some people, the tabloids, like, kind of sort of blamed her for, like, James Dean's car accident that killed him, and she said something, and then they axed her show after a year, and she tried to maintain that image after the show got canceled, and one of them being in Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. Where she pretty much just was the same character, except she wasn't talking. She was just a mute. It's cinematic gold.
The movie Ed Wood is hilarious too, by the way.
It is. Another thing about that movie I didn't know is that the actress who was playing Vampira was dating
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton at the time. He has this thing where he dates his actresses, or he's like on the verge of marrying them, and then he fights over the custody battle with Johnny Depp.
That's a story for another time.
That really is a story for another time.
One other thing I wanted to talk about with Cassandra Peterson was apparently she was always big into horror growing up. She said the movie that inspired her actually was House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price, and was a huge Vincent Price fan. So I thought that was actually really wild to hear, and when they said, "Are you into doing something like this?" she was all about it. And she, of course, had done some Vincent Price films throughout them. The show was called Movie Macabre. And Movie Macabre was like a late night. I don't know how late exactly. I didn't find anything. Finding these episodes is actually really hard.
Actually, I was watching a whole bunch the other week.
Like with the whole movie?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's on Shout Factory TV right now. They have like 8 or 10 movies right now, but it seems to be that's where everything's going. And it's cool to see because like the 80s production is not amazing, but her jokes are still just as funny.
Oh, they said the production was so bad that I think the first night she filmed, she was actually filmed under a streetlight.
Oh my god.
What?
Yeah. And the couch that she sat on was rented until the day of the show was over.
Oh my god.
So that was literally the world's most expensive couch.
Oh my gosh.
And she said she would help with lights and script writing, and John Paragon even helped with script writing as well. And she said, "I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm only getting $300.
Yeah.
But she said that her and Paul Reubens are actually two, maybe there's a few others, but there's very few people in Hollywood that actually own the characters that they're known for. She said her and Paul Reubens actually own Elvira and Pee Wee Herman. And the way she did it was her contract would come up quarterly, and they would always say, we're not giving you more money. So she would say, well, can I get rights to appearances? Yeah, you can have rights to appearances. Next contract, well, can I have rights to, like licensing and marketing? Yeah, you can have those rights. And so on and so forth, until it finally got to the point where they said, hey, we have all the rights. So here she has all the rights to the character, and that's another reason why she's been able to play her for 30 plus years.
Yeah, honestly, that's amazing.
You're really smart.
It's smart on
Really
her
cool.
move, too, because like if they're not going to pay her more, and then ultimately the character itself is probably, well, I'd say the franchise itself is still just as big. So,
Oh, she said that she's in charge of the franchise now.
Yeah.
She says she's working 364 days out of the year, even when it's not, just fall time. Because it's, she's got the Elvira website, like comic books, and she said she was working on an animated series or animated movies.
oh yeah.
Because she did try doing another live action film. And I remember watching it, and she said that she actually, like, used her own money to do it.
Okay.
She didn't really recommend that. I've heard that's a general rule of thumb. You don't really want to put too much of your own money into a movie.
Yeah.
She said, like, yeah, she's pretty much working on Elvira stuff all the time. Like, you're lucky if you get one day off from her.
I know I saw her a little bit last night on Amazon where she was doing some hosting for Funny or Die sketches. There was like 4 of them in like one 17-minute long episode, and just up to her usual shenanigans. There was like one of the segments involving a killer from the first person viewing, like stalking a sorority house, and it turns out the guy with like a sleep apnea mask is actually like an 80-year-old man, and he has no idea where he is. He's like got hedge clippers, like trying to look like he's killing somebody, but the cops show up and he's like, Mr. Henderson, would you please put that down? What? Put that down. What? And he's like egging the cop on. The cop goes to tie his Velcro shoes, and then all of a sudden he comes out of it like, oh, I'm gonna kill this pig. And then he drops the hedge clippers. Oh, you just dropped your hedge clippers. Come on, let's get you home. God damn it. It was really funny. And she, looking as sexy as always, like in between the different Funny or Die sketches. They were really, really funny, though.
She looks incredible to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I understand that in Hollywood, looks are very important. And, hey, let's face it, they are. Because, we've even seen guys... Like, when we first saw the trailer for Bill and Ted 3, we were like, oh, man, they look old.
They really did. But the movie was good, though.
For somebody like Cassandra Peterson, and even women in general, they get judged really harshly in Hollywood, too. But also, you got to remember that she's been wearing that makeup all over her face for 30 years. And can you imagine... like washing that off and the damage it's going to do to your skin after a while. So what I'm just saying is that I wouldn't judge her if she got surgery, because that's her job, and she does it well, and we all look up to her and inspire to her. I mean, I don't know if she ever has had surgery or not.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think when she was young, she suffered from some burns
Yeah,
as
she
a
did.
5-year-old, and she had to have multiple skin grafts throughout her life until finally the damage was repaired.
Yeah, I think it was like a hot water incident or something.
When she was 5.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, you never heard about that?
I knew it was burned. I didn't know it was that early in her
It was really
life.
early in her life, and it took multiple years and multiple surgeries to finally get the skin to repair.
I forget if it was her shoulders or her chest.
I forget too, but it was definitely like a visible spot on her body.
Because I remember him saying that, like, that's one of the other reasons why they made her so white.
That makes sense.
To help cover it up.
But yeah, like we said, still looks as great as always. I actually, you mentioned Vincent Price. I love that she's on. I think it was it the Johnny Carson show?
I think it was Joan Rivers.
Okay.
It was Joan Rivers and Johnny Carson.
Okay, and then Vincent Price was there with her during like one televised segment. She's like, I was actually playing some of your movies late night, and Vincent Price is just like ogling, just like, oh my god, you are really attractive, you are really gorgeous, and she's like, thank you so much, like your Poe films weren't so Poe after all, like saying like some like little puns here and there. He's laughing up, just like, you are really gorgeous.
She's even said that when the show first came out, she wasn't expecting much of anything, and then in weeks it just exploded. And it's astonishing that weeks for something like that. I don't know if it was just right place, right time. I mean, maybe. Like you said, the 80s being a different breed of an era and the MTV generation kicking in. Because I remember I have some family members who said, yeah, I remember watching her. Like, I didn't even think they would be into something like that. And Comedy Central wasn't around, so maybe it was like the comedy thing. But hey, like I said, guys oogled at her and women wanted to be her. And then being associated with Halloween, it was, hey, what better thing to put on than an Elvira at the time? Yeah. Especially because it was also old horror movies yet. Oh, and then you had her on top of it. I mean, you're in Halloween heaven right there.
Yeah. Halloween heaven.
And she said that when she got invited to the Johnny Carson show, that's when she knew she made it. Because when you were on Johnny Carson, that was like the pinnacle of guest appearances. And she said he was great. Because she felt like she bombed and said that he was just so awesome to her that he would like find a way to twist jokes to make it look like you look good and not steal the spotlight away from people. And she said she was like really gracious of Johnny Carson for doing that with her, and I was like, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
That is really cool. Like, I would never even thought it that way, because like he's a really good host too, and it just shows like what he's capable of doing.
They said he's sorely missed in those late night shows now. I mean, I don't really watch too many of them, but from the last couple ones I saw, Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert did not impress me at all.
Okay, who's the other one? Conan O'Brien. He's like somewhere else. I don't think he's actually on television anymore. He's like on some streaming service. I don't know, but yeah, I don't really watch late night television like that. I mean, I just don't.
But I think the movie Macabre ran from 1981 to 1986, and then it actually got a little bit of a resurgence in 2010. I think it lasted a year. I don't even know if it was on a network. I think it might have just been a little, here's a couple movies we're going to do. And I think one of them was actually Night of the Living Dead.
I think it later became 13 Nights with Elvira.
Yes. Yeah, I think, was that the one that she did in 2014?
Yep,
I think so.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it, yep.
And that's actually on Amazon Prime right now, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Dude, what is it? Ginger Dead Man's on there?
Oh my god, with Gary Busey?
Yes. The original with Gary Busey.
I bought the Night of the Living Dead one from the 13 Nights, and I loved how she, instead of it like being commercial breaks, she would actually pop up on the side like how Mortal Kombat was. And then she would say a joke, and I'm like, it caught me off guard because I was expecting like the breaks, and there wasn't breaks because now it's on a streaming service, and it made it even funnier because like you weren't expecting it. And I was like, I loved it so much, I ended up just trying to check out the rest of the movies then.
She's evolving with the times now.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, she's so smart, man. She knows what she's doing.
Absolutely.
Hey, when you got the technology to do it, just take advantage of it, man. Like, I remember when Robert Englund was talking about doing Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and he said Rennie Harlan had this, it was like a VHS recorder along with the film camera, and what he would do is he would record the VHS stuff and then go back and look at the VHS stuff right away because the film would take longer to develop, and he would go back and see what he had because they said Ronnie Harlan was just like so up to date with technology.
Interesting.
Now, film has better resolution, so when people say like, oh, should I get a red camera or whatever, you got to like pick and choose your battles and budget constraints and stuff. But I mean, I've seen some incredible digital filmmaking, and I've also seen incredible movies just made on film, so yeah. I think no matter what, something's gonna be improved upon. But
and definitely when it comes to like film quality, it depends on like the kind of film that you want to make. Like, do you want to capture like that grainy look to try and capture the time period that you're going for, like Quentin Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or even like the Hateful Eight, where it was filmed. I think it was actual film. I think it was actual film in those movies, not digital.
Yeah, Hateful Eight was like 70 millimeter because it captured that larger aspect ratio, and he wanted that more for like a bigger screen. Mm-hmm. Plus, it also depends on your lenses. Like when John Carpenter made Halloween, he said he wanted the most expensive and best film stock that you could get, and the most expensive and best film lenses that you could get, because it made the movie seem less cheap. And that's true. That's a
$300,000 budget movie. You're asking for the most expensive thing when you may not have the budget to afford the most expensive thing.
They got it.
They did.
And it helped the quality of that movie, believe me.
Yeah. Dean Cundey just like pulling out all the stops saying, what can we do with the film quality that we have here? Let's blow the socks out of people. Let's just make this entire opening a one-shot take. And makes it look better than it could have been. Now, Elvira's movie, Mistress of the Dark, was it 1988 when that came out?
I believe so.
It was 88.
There's an interesting story about that movie. She said that they had all this backing to make it, and it was a big budget at the time. I think maybe $15-30 million to make that movie. I don't know. I remember her saying that it doesn't sound so big now, obviously, because of the times it changed.
But back then, sounds like a decent budget.
And it was the #1 movie in little areas like San Francisco, LA, maybe New York, when they had little releases here and there. And the day the movie was supposed to be released, the distributor filed for bankruptcy. So they pulled it out of like 3,600 theaters, and that's why it didn't do anything.
Yikes. That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's why it bombed.
Yeah.
Because she even said it doesn't matter if you're Star Wars, if you're only playing a movie in 300 screens in little cities, you're not going to make anything from it.
No, absolutely not. Mm-mm.
But it had become a resurgence and has picked up a little cult following, and it is a funny movie.
It really is a funny film.
I'd say they just put out what are we at? It was an anniversary edition, but it came out this year. It was a 4K scan of the movie. So I was expecting it to be in 4K, but not yet. Probably next year.
Yeah,
but
give it time.
Yeah.
I was just watching it before we actually did this, and I'm like, they cleaned it up nicely. Like, the jokes are there. Like, it shows, like, how strong of a female character she really is, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, how many guys are, like, trying to get with her, they're saying nasty stuff with her. She straight up just puts them in their place, and it was amazing.
She has a Rambo scene in
Oh my god, I laughed at it too. I forgot about it too.
She sees the young gentleman with her car, like the hood pops off, and she sees the young man just falling over, like, oh, can I have some big, strong men to take me to the nearest garage? He's like, don't scratch the paint, jeez. I love the when she's talking to the one like male interest in the movie, where she's like, I'm all into R-rated movies, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm into R-rated movies. Like, oh, I only watch G-rated movies. Oh, I watch G too, as long as there's sex and violence. That's like my favorite quote of that movie. I'll watch a G-rated movie as long as it has sex and violence.
I actually laughed at the one scene, probably more than I should have, when the lights go out and she grabs something and she goes, "Oh, Bob," and the lights come back on. It's a snake.
I like it when that one she's helping put up the letters on the marquee. And she has an E, and she like leans over like she's ready to fall, and somebody looks over, and here she's grabbing the bottom portion of the letter E, and I forget what the word was supposed to be. Oh, I think they were trying to spell duck, but she was saying that matinee has 2 E's or 1 E in it or something, and so she was ready to take it down, and the D wasn't in duck, so when she put her hand down, the bottom part of the E looked like an F. And you just see the straight-laced moms look over like,
because the phrase actually says how to fuck that.
Yeah.
I love when she broke out of prison with her bust, just breaking the bars down with her tits. And then there was the one scene where she's about to, or the town's accusing her of being a witch, and she's about to get placed on the stake and lit up on fire. Do you have any last words? Yeah, one. Ah! I think in the documentary In Search of Darkness, she talked about how she had to be completely covered in flame retardant because there was so much hair product in her hair that she would have just lit up like a fireball if that flame had actually touched her.
Oh, I believe that.
Oh, man.
I mean, come on. That hair barely even moved throughout the movie. Like, when she's running, you might see a little bit of wind. Now it just straight.
And those 80s, that time frame was known for big, crazy hair.
Oh, yeah.
80s metal hair bands.
Oh, my gosh.
Docking.
All the Aquanet.
Well, hell, Gene Simmons said that's why he stopped putting hairspray in his hair, because he would do the fire-breathing gag. His hair got lit on fire. Yeah. He was like, oh, no, I'm done. And then she made another movie, Elvira's Haunted Hills. And I remember our friend Lord Damien, who was inspired by Elvira to do his horror show, Damien's Dreadfuls, which is on YouTube. You guys can all check that out. He made a good point, and he said that the way how he remembers the title to the sequel, if you want to call it a sequel, is Haunted Hills.
I think that was actually the joke.
Oh, I believe it.
Definitely.
It was low budget, but it still had good jokes. Heck, Richard O'Brien from Rocky Horror Picture Show was in it. And it was interesting because she had this, like, ancestor named Elvira, which I thought was funny. And Cassandra Peterson had also said, I believe the wig that she originally had was made out of a material called Elvira. And it was supposed to be like Elvira. And also, I believe her hairstyle, from what Cassandra Peterson has said, is called a knowledge bump, not a beehive. Little trivia.
Even The Haunted Hills was a decent movie, but it didn't have the same feel as, like, I'd say the original.
It didn't. It kind of, like, tried to capture that, like, raw medieval kind of feel, mythical. I mean, not that it was bad and it fit for the character, but I think she's a current character that you can plug and place now and kind of, because she's a misfit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what Cassandra Peterson said. Sometimes she feels like she doesn't fit in with people. And that was another inspirational thing that fans have come up to her and said that they feel inspired by, is that they don't fit in, but yet somehow they always find a crowd.
Yeah, and honestly, like, she's kind of out of time because, like you said, she can fit in anywhere because she really hasn't changed her style. And it fits. It fits now. It fits in the 80s. Whenever she was needed, she was there.
Hey, look at her Halloween costume. They said that is the largest selling Halloween costume of all time.
I believe it.
I completely believe that, too.
Makes me want to buy one.
I was like, we were watching Bailey Sarian, and she was doing the Elvira makeup and doing that whole thing. I thought that was amazing, too.
She didn't call herself Elvira. She called her Aluga, like her like stepsister from Kansas or whatever. Like, I look like Aluga.
She had an interview with RuPaul. It was kind of one of those, like, comedians in cars sort of deals. And he was saying to her, what advice do you have for people who want to put on the costume? And she said, just worry about the boobs and the cleavage more, because that's what everybody's going to be looking at. They probably won't even tell you have a head. But just make sure you got the busty look going for you. Then the makeup comes second.
And when you have a camera that just kind of zooms in on the cleavage right before the movie shows or the skit shows, I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious.
She told a really cool story about how she dressed as Elvira at her house when kids were coming around for trick-or-treating.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they said their jaws were just on the floor. That reminded me of the story about Adam West when he dressed up as Batman and drove the studio actually let him take the Batmobile home. And he drove around town and went trick-or-treating and would knock on doors and be like, trick-or-treat, and everybody was... They didn't think it was really him at first, and then later on they were like, wait a minute, costume looks too good, the Batmobile looks real. And he said, yeah, that only lasted like a block.
That is the best thing. Oh, God.
Just when you hear stories about these actors that do that, that's so awesome.
Having a good time and just going along with the jokes and just trying to get a reaction out of people for the better. Oh, man.
And that was another thing Paul Rubens had... RuPaul. Not Paul Rubens, RuPaul. He had asked Cassandra if she enjoys Halloween at all, and she said that she's usually working during it, but she's always having a good time. And then he said, well, do you have any kids? She goes, yeah, I have a daughter. And he said, well, how does she enjoy Halloween? I saw that look you gave me, Jeff. Like a daughter, eh? And she said that she pretty much had a normal childhood growing up because nobody really recognized her outside of the makeup for the longest time. They probably recognize her more now because of social media and the way the internet and Twitter and Facebook are with all the pictures that you can take.
I would say, honestly, the biggest thing is, like, she has red hair.
She's natural redhead.
Yeah, and, like, you see her, you don't really see Elvira, you just see a woman.
And that was another thing she brought up in interviews, is that when she would go to other auditions, or if they say, hey, we want to bring Elvira in, and she would come in just for, like, the meetings and say, what do you want to do? They're thinking she's going to be pale,
she's
going to
be in the costume.
And they're like, oh, we honestly weren't expecting you to be you.
As a, kind of normal looking, like, every day, and yeah.
It is funny because I don't want to say it's like a dramatic difference, because even outside the makeup, she still is an amazing looking person.
Absolutely.
Very stunning. it's amazing.
And then when she's Elvira, it's like a totally different person. So it's like, how many people do you know can be sexy without that makeup and then sexy as this other character?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Lord Damien was on Rocky Horror and he talked about the garish makeup that Tim Curry wears, and he says that people look way more attractive with makeup, changing their fit, which is the job of the makeup, really. And then here she can do it without it and with it.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I did not know she was a natural redhead until I saw the documentary In Search of Darkness. I was like, I recognize the face, but oh shit, she's a natural redhead. I did not know that.
The funny thing is you brought that up. My name's actually in the end credits because I paid to help back it because I wanted the Elvira edition.
Oh,
that's so cool.
And I was laughing about that because like they're like, all right, we'll do this and you'll get like all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, honestly, all I wanted was the extra half hour of interview with her. I didn't care about any of the extras.
They had a lot of people I know involved in that thing, but it was like 5 hours long.
Yeah, they're actually working on a second one now.
Cool.
With all the extras from that one.
If they have the footage to do it, why not?
But yeah, with her doing that documentary, and it was essentially her just talking about the 80s throughout the whole thing as Cassandra Peterson. I keep trying to say Elvira, but it was her talking about doing that stuff, and then like she would actually talk about something she was doing at the time when they were talking about what year it was, and I thought that was actually really cool. So like you get to know more about Elvira and Cassandra Peterson as well as finding out about all the horror movies, and I was glad I got it.
At one point, I remember she was talking about possibly passing the torch on to somebody else. I know she said she tried, and they had a show about it.
In search for the next Elvira.
Yeah.
It was like 2007, I think that's what it was. I just remember seeing like an image of all these people dressed up like Elvira, and they were having like, it was like a reality show, was it, kind of?
I didn't see it, but I remember her talking about it, and they said that they found a girl, and they gave her a bad job, really. Even she said it was a bad job. And pretty much just like, they just lost interest.
It just got axed and just never...
Plus, that's going to be so tricky because what's going to happen with that person that when the torch gets passed and, like, what if Cassandra Peterson passes away? How do the rights work out? Like, do the rights go to her daughter? But what about the person playing her? And is she going to have, like she said, is they going to have that free time for the fall? It's almost like it's a 24/7 commitment, really. Especially with if she's been doing that since she started the character, and if there's going to be somebody who's going to be one of those like, oh, well, I want to do other parts, it's not really fair to that, actor. But, I mean, if somebody's like willing to do it and be committed to it, hey, kudos, more power to you.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that lawsuit, though. But we've heard that before from other people, like the guys from Kiss say they want to pass the torch on, and rightfully so, because they're not just a rock band, they're a show. They're characters in a show. It's like, I'm dreading the day that something happens to Alice Cooper.
I think we all are dreading that.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
But I'd hate to see that the show and the character would end. Yeah. And honestly, it's characters like Elvira, Alice Cooper, and Kiss that you can find other people that have a passion and a drive and a talent to carry it on.
Especially with all the makeup.
Yeah, exactly.
Say Kiss alone, even if you just change their logos, they could still continue as Kiss. So it has a possibility, but would we want that to happen? Because if she would pass, and would we really want someone else playing Elvira, though?
It depends. You honestly, you got to give the person a chance.
I think so.
Because it's kind of like, well, do we really think somebody playing Ash versus Evil Dead the musical could pull it off?
I mean, we're kind of seeing that with some horror icons, like look at 2018's Halloween, where you had Nick Castle, who played the Shape in the original Halloween, and it was kind of like a passing the torch to a younger gentleman, I believe, or like younger. Yeah. Not that much in terms of age, because he's like 60-something years old in the movie. But Nick Castle was in the film sparingly, and then it was another gentleman who was taking on the character of Michael Myers. And then I hear these reports about, well, if this new Nightmare on Elm Street does kind of go, they had this idea of Robert Englund being there sparingly and then passing the torch to another Freddy Krueger icon, or the idea that what could Freddy Krueger actually be? Like, is he just a manipulation of our imagination? Is he fat? Is he thin? Is he tall, short? What is he? There was that idea that was being played around with, or at least those were his suggestions if they wanted to move forward with a new Nightmare film. So it's not just Elvira and these pop icon characters, it's also these movie characters as well. We see the passing of the torch. They kind of had it with, I guess, actually not really with Friday the 13th, the remake. It was Derek Myers who played. I thought he did pretty well in that movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
I liked
everyone
it.
recognizes still Kane Hodder as the premier Jason Voorhees, but I think Derek Myers did a pretty good job. Or Mears?
Yeah,
Derek
Myers.
Derek Mears. He's another creature actor that's really good.
Honestly, we can't judge that sort of situation anymore because, I mean, it's been done so many times. Like, James Bonds have changed and come and gone, and we accept that. I mean, are there some that we like that we don't like? Well, yeah. Look at Batman. You know, we've had so many Batman actors come and go, and that's kind of like another James Bond thing. You really got to wait and see what the character brings.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. Heck, I'm all for it if they make a movie about Elvira. I think, honestly, like, my top choice would be Kat Dennings to play her. I think she would probably be a damn
I can
good...
see
yeah,
her
Jeff,
pulling that off.
I knew Jeff would like that.
I actually can see her pulling that off. I really can.
Mm-hmm.
She's funny. She's got the good looks. She's got the talent. I can see
Definitely
her doing
has
it.
the talent.
The talent.
I think she could be somebody who could do it, but Kat's also so good at doing other things that I don't know if she would do the 24/7 thing. But yeah, man, I'm making a pitch out there. Yo, give Kat Dennings a chance at Elvira. I want to see that.
I would too. I thought you mentioned James Bond. I had no idea that Cassandra Peterson was a Bond girl.
Oh yeah.
In Diamonds Are Forever, I had no clue that was her until I see still images of her and Sean Connery. I'm like, that's too cool.
Like, that was a perfect segue too. Like,
I wasn't even.
You mentioned James Bond. I'm like, wait a minute, she was in a Bond film. I had no idea until a couple nights ago, looking up some history for this review. Good stuff, though. But
Hell yeah.
beyond just playing Elvira, she's done plenty of other work.
But yeah, like, honestly, she's probably gonna be known mostly for Elvira. You know, she had like little cameos here and there, but it wasn't like overshadowing the main actor. So obviously, dude, I'm sorry, you got me thinking about Kat Dennings as Elvira now.
Hey, dude, imagine how I felt. And I was on Instagram, and, well, John was talking about talents this morning. And then I was looking through, and I saw Kat Dennings, and I was like, oh, speaking of talents. And then I thought, you know what? I could totally see her pulling off an awesome Elvira.
I could, too. I really could.
And especially because I've heard her sass on Two Broke Girls, so I know that she definitely has that, too.
That was the only reason to watch that show anyway. We all know.
Oh, yeah.
Is that show still on? No, it's not. Okay.
That show was funny, and she was fantastic in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that show ended the year I got married, so I think it was season 7 they had? 6 or 7.
7 seasons?
Yeah, it did last a while.
Damn.
I own it because of Kat Dennings. I'm not gonna lie.
I know we were also talking about some unpleasant dreams. I had some unpleasant dreams last night, too. So thank you, Elvira, for signing off with that amazing line that has stuck with us to this day.
Yeah, dude, those old Movie Macabre stuff, like Jeff said, they still hold up. They're hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I only got to check out the 2. One was for Gamera, and the other one I think was like the Satan's Brides or something like that. It was cheesy, and like I'm like, oh my.
Well, they have some of just her segments on YouTube. I mean, they look like somebody took them from the old VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we were at VHS Festival up in Mahoning Drive-Ins, and we saw them there.
I was actually half tempted to buy them, but I'm like, I don't have a VCR. For some of you that don't know what a VCR is, that's how we used to play movies. The little black box that had the film in it.
There might be a VCR DVD combo buried in my basement somewhere. There just might be. I still have an icon or a replica, a relic of the past buried in my basement somewhere. I feel bad for some of those movies that never made it to DVD, but at the same time, there's probably a good reason why they didn't make it to DVD.
Oh, yeah.
What was the one?
Dude, Samurai Cop's on Blu-ray.
Listen, we don't need
to go into that one.
Yes, sequels.
Sequels. Wasn't there like a VHS copy, or maybe it was a DVD of a superhero wearing a middle finger costume?
Oh yeah.
Called The Middle Finger. That made it to DVD.
That is Trauma Films though. They'll throw everything.
Might be a costume for next year. I tell these guys, I could probably make that. Just give me some hard layers of 1-inch green foam, a chainsaw, manipulate it, dig a hole for it, and then spray paint it yellow, and bam, you got the middle finger.
I'll give you a middle finger.
I'll give you 2.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Jeff rocking his Elvira shirt today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, he is.
I'm actually surprised it still fit. Like, not going the other way. Like, I went from being heavy to getting lighter. I'm like, man, I got rid of a lot of clothes. I'm like, I hope I didn't get rid of this. So like, it felt like it was fitting for today.
Well, from where the talents are, if the shirt was so big, you could have made a claim that it was your balls.
But the funny thing is, as we were sitting here, my watch went off, and it's from the same company that did the shirt I'm wearing. They're putting out another Elvira shirt.
Ooh, nice.
And I was like,
what's the company name?
Fright Rags.
Give them a plug.
Go to Fright Rags, and you'll check out all their cool stuff.
For how much?
I honestly don't know. It changes. Like, there's a lot on there. Most of my clothes are actually from there.
Fright Rags, Terror Thrags. There's another one, Cavity Colors.
And I think it's Gutter Garbs.
Gutter Garbs. Oh my god.
I'm not gonna lie. I bought a lot from Fright Rags, and then I saw you had the Terror Thread shirt. So I was like, all right, I went and checked theirs out. I bought, I think, like 1 or 2 shirts to check them out. Gutter Garbs and Cavity Colors. I picked one up.
The 40th anniversary, the Fog T-shirt is from Cavity Colors, and that was this year actually, the 40th anniversary of that movie. It was awesome. It was a baseball T-shirt. I had to say yes to it.
But yeah, they have a lot of cool stuff. So I would say definitely check it. Actually, all those companies out.
Oh, Jeff, you forgot to mention you had the pleasure of meeting Cassandra Peterson.
Oh, absolutely! Like, that was probably the worst Monster Mania I went to, but it was actually one of the coolest things to meet her.
Oh yeah, that was. Oh yeah, dude, that was horrible.
Was that the one where you guys were like behind the building for miles, or like looped around the building?
Dude, that was a crazy weekend. Cassandra Peterson was there. John Carpenter was there. Now hold on, they had Kane Hodder in costume. I think C.J. Graham and Ken Kurtzinger, who I think are like the 3 best Jasons, were all in costume. So you had Friday the 13th Part 6. Kane is Jason, in 4 movies. Ken was Jason in Freddy vs. Jason. And they're all in costume.
Oh, absolutely.
The 3 best ones, all in costume. And then you had Tim Curry on top of it. Yeah, that was a crazy fucking weekend.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like, we got there, and just waiting was the hard. Like, you just wait for the door to open, and I think we waited like an hour and a half.
They said Tim Curry's line was like 3 lines around the building.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That was already started when we were waiting to get inside.
Oh,
the Jasons were all the way around. I mean, you saw people, like when you got in, it was like shoulder to shoulder. Until you got into the vendor stuff, because I think the fire marshal even had to say, you guys got to do something different. This is a fire hazard. It was bad. It was really bad.
Yikes.
But the cool thing was she had her own room, so everyone in there was just for her, and it was packed. So I was cool about that. I got to meet her, and like it was kind of cool seeing like some of the stuff that she had out. And I was expecting her to be in full makeup too, but no, just normal Cassandra Peterson. And it was cool. She was really polite, really nice, and she was literally happy to meet all her fans. Like, she would sit there and just talk with them because, like, come on, man. Like, everyone's coming to see her, and she's just happy to hear the stories. I, on the other hand, didn't say a damn word because I was in shock because I'm like, holy shit. I think Lexi did more talking than I did. It was actually one of the coolest experiences. Like I said, I was in shock because like it was almost like night and day. Like I was expecting makeup, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing her as a real person, and that was actually like the coolest moment. Those conventions are why I like doing that, because like you actually get to see these icons as real people, and like on the screen they're one thing, but seeing them face to face, it's amazing.
It is different. It's literally like when you go see a sporting event. Like you're watching it on TV so many times, and then when you go see it live, it's such a different experience. Like you guys know, I'm a huge football fan, and you don't realize how fast like the receivers and the running backs are until you see them in person. And then when you see how big they actually are, dude, if it was us on dude, we die. I mean, they're modern day gladiators. And when you see these people out of the makeup and just regular clothes, just all chilled, laid back, like Ernie Hudson, he was one of the most gracious guys I've ever met. I mean, pretty much everybody I met was never bad or had a bad, like Nick Castle, who was Michael Myers. That was one of the coolest damn experiences I ever had. Because when I told him I was a film school student, he sat me down next to him, and he actually like talked to me like film stuff. And it was wild. Then his manager or agent was like, "Nick, you got to move it on." He was like, "No, wait, I'm talking here." While there's a line.
That's awesome.
I'll never forget that.
I think the two biggest ones that always stick out to me are Sid Haig. He was actually really cool to me, and George Romero.
Oh yeah.
Like that's like one of my biggest ones, and I was like, no matter what, that was the one person I wanted to meet that day, and it was actually the shortest line I've ever been in.
Really?
It was 8 people.
For George A. Romero?
Yeah, and like I got there right at opening, and I'm like, dude, I thought this was gonna be like you said, looped around. Dude, 8 people.
That's sad.
I was like,
man.
I was like, wait a second, you're talking about this icon here, and nobody's gonna go see this man? I was happy. I was excited. It was like one of my favorite director writers to meet, and I was just like,
oh my god, that just kind of reminds me of like the one Comic-Con I went to where Chris Hemsworth was the headliner. It was wrapped around, waiting in line for like 45 minutes just to meet the guy, and then Patrick Stewart had like 8 people. Like, I'll meet Patrick Stewart. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, like I think when I met Cassandra, it was probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it was snaked pretty deep.
Yeah.
But like I said, I got up there like it was one of the times I wanted to get something different signed. Like I've got posters, I've got the 8x10s. I grabbed one of her, I guess it'd be Funkos, and I got that signed. I guess the company that does it. And I was like, all right, something different, and like cool, something actually physical. And I like look at him like she actually had her other ones, and I like grabbed the one that was different from everything else.
Sometimes that's better to go different and then be like, hey, I got the more unique thing out of here.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can't say enough nice stuff about her, because like I said, she was very polite.
That's awesome.
Like the success never went to her head, it seemed like.
And that's great.
That's really awesome. I heard somebody say, well, they asked her if her house is like all goth out and stuff, and she said that at first she was like really into it, and now she's like, it's more like Leave It to Beaver.
I could see that, just like normal plain Jane.
But yeah, like you said, she just seems so down to earth, just ready to like have jokes and shit. She was telling a story. This was really funny about how she said her name was in the phone book. Like she wasn't expecting to like have everything take off and be this huge mega success right away. So when the show got really popular, her phone was going off nonstop.
Oh my!
And her name is in the credits as Cassandra Peterson. It wasn't like Paul Rubens was Pee Wee Herman, because it used to say Pee Wee Herman is Pee Wee Herman.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody really knew what she looked like either. One time she said a guy was waiting outside of her dressing room, and she walked out and took all the makeup and stuff off and said, hey, is Elvira in there? And she was just Cassandra Peterson, and she was like, oh yeah, she'll be out in just a few minutes. And she took off.
Yeah, honestly, because the whole like night and day thing with her, it probably was perfect for her, because like they're expecting one thing and you're seeing another.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, it's the same thing like when you see Robert Englund, you go, whoa, you're Freddy Krueger?
Yeah.
I can kind of see it now that he's older, because Freddy was meant to be an older guy, but when you see Robert Englund when he was younger, it was like, there's nothing intimidating about this guy at all.
Now he's rocking the beard and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good-looking guy, even his age, seriously.
Yeah, I think he's 70 years old now.
He's up there. He's up there. He's the same around that age. I really hope that when all this stuff, this pandemic blows over, that we can just go back to horror cons again, and hopefully these guys make like a couple more hurrahs before maybe they just hang up the towel or whatever you want to call it. But because I'll be honest, I'm the only guy here that has never actually been to a horror con, and I feel like I've shamed myself for not going to one earlier, because I'm hearing all these great stories from you guys, and I don't really have one.
They're a lot of fun. Jeff and I prefer going to Maryland.
That's the one that I would like to go to as well, because I hear that's the best one.
Well, not only is it the best one, but we enjoy the drive.
Yeah, it's a beautiful drive.
Yeah, there's like this nice little stop that we do when we get breakfast, and you just see like the leaves changing colors for the fall and stuff, and the ride itself is smooth, and the venue at the hotel is just really
That's
chill.
Right, you can just book a room at the hotel right there. That's even better.
I did that for the first time last year.
Okay.
And it was actually right around this time. And it was actually cooler to stay at the hotel because like you can go in and out as you please, and you actually had a place just to chill. Like, because sometimes it gets a little overwhelming because of the amount of people. Like, now that this stuff is getting popular, it just seems like there's more and more people going. So like when we originally started, it wasn't as big. So
it was also cheaper to meet the people.
Yeah. I think they are doing one this year, but it's at the drive-in that we just went to.
Mahoning.
And I was like happy. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just check it out. I know Tom Savini's gonna be there. And I can't. The one who plays Judith Myers. I don't remember her real name, but
I don't. I used to know. I don't remember anymore.
But that was another.
She was in Playboy.
Oh my gosh, that was another guy that I was surprised that had nobody in his line. He looked bored when I originally
Tom
met
Savini?
Yeah, when I originally met him, there was nobody. He was just kind of sitting there like twiddling his thumbs.
I'll fucking meet him.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, he elevated Friday the 13th better than what it was going to be. They hired him for the makeup and for the gruesome gore effects, and that's awesome.
And his hairy knuckles when
he directed the remake.
That was his partner Tazo.
I mean, directing the remake of Night of the Living Dead too. I mean, he did that one as well with Tony Todd. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Savini's known for being the movie makeup guy that was big for all that slasher stuff.
Yeah, I'd say actually check out his documentary called Smoke and Mirrors.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, we could probably talk about him for a whole episode because there's so much cool stuff.
Definitely.
He's an interesting guy himself. I mean, how he got involved with Friday the 13th and hearing about how he was actually in Vietnam and he took pictures of. I don't think he was a soldier. I think he was a Vietnam photographer, and that's where he got a lot of the art concepts from.
Okay.
Maybe there's an interview with Elvira and Tom Savini. It's gotta be.
Guaranteed.
There has to be something.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a specific favorite Elvira moment in her lengthy career?
Just her in general.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the life of the party, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I look forward to Halloween stuff just because, like, she's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think she is a super iconic symbol. You rank her right up there with Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, Freddy. You know, she's right there.
I was going to say, it's all of it. Like,
Yeah.
everything is the favorite part for me for Elvira.
I mean,
just her image and just her being on camera alone is the favorite thing. Every time, anytime.
I mean, she's probably one of the more pleasant things to look at if you don't like scary things to have around Halloween. I mean, because like I said, women love her too.
They do.
She is a good, strong character, and that's I mean, that's something to look up to. And the fact that like not only is that character a good, strong character, but how Cassandra Peterson took the bull by the horns and got the rights herself and just took control and made it even bigger than what a shitty little network did.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, that speaks volumes.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, she said that, she didn't do it by herself, but she had the drive to continue it. That's
like you said
awesome.
before, she was like driving around to one gig after another when she first started getting out. I mean, I relate to that. Like going to auditions, driving around, hustling to one place to another just to have 3 minutes, and then that's it. You head back, or then you check out the town, then you leave.
Mm-hmm. She does have a really cool book called Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, where it's like a compilation of 30 years of pictures. I saw some of them, and they look really cool. She said that there's actually more, that there might be more books coming.
Wait, there's an actual book, or is there like a
it's like a coffee table.
Oh, okay, I was like, because I thought there was like something where it was more of like a biography too, but.
Oh, there could be.
There probably
But
is.
I know the book that I'm talking about is
It's
like a
massive.
coffee table,
Yeah.
Big pictures, man. Well, they have to be. Like she says, I don't think Elvira fits in many places. I mean, she barely fits in her dress.
I think one of my favorite lines that she uses is the movie was an hour and a half too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, when she said it in the beginning of her movie, I lost it because I'm like, most of the time it fits. Because you, like I said, you guys heard me bitch so much, but I'm like, if I use that line on you guys at one time in this whole podcast, I'll make my day. But I think that the one thing that caught me off guard was that she actually sings. And
yeah, that's one thing we forgot to mention is that she also does do live performances. I don't know how long she does them for. I think I heard her say once every 12 years, but I don't think that's right. Well, I know that she actually performs at a place called Knott's Berry Farm. I believe it's out in California. And she does everything, like meet and greets, comedy, and then produce like live performances, and like kind of like what you saw at the end of the movie in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. She kind of does stuff like that. I think they might change it from Knott's Berry to when she's there to Not Scary. If you guys ever want to look it up, it's Knotts. Knott's.
Okay.
Okay, go.
The only reason I found out about her singing was actually I bought the Haunted Hills soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh!
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, and it just says like there's several songs on here that she sings. So I looked into it more. I'm like, that's one thing I was not expecting.
That's awesome.
It is.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Like
so
she
cool.
essentially is the full package.
Oh, more than full. I know she's talked about how it does get tiring for her, and I know it does, but I think the fans really keep it going, and she's even wondered how long she herself can, but RuPaul said it best to her that I think it's the fans that let you know when it's time to stop. I mean, hell, like I said, she's 69 now, and we still... I know.
Oh, yeah. We mentioned that already. 69.
And we still don't want her to stop.
I was just going to say, who the hell wants another Pee-wee movie or show?
I think there was demand for it. She did say that she is tired of doing pitches for a live movie anymore, because she's tried so many times it hasn't gone anywhere. But she is looking forward to doing the animated stuff. I think in 2016 she pitched that. I don't know if anything's released yet. I haven't looked into it.
The comic series that she does is actually pretty funny too, because I've read the first, I want to say 6 or 8 issues, and it's her jumping through time. And it starts with her on set of one of the hosting gigs. She goes into a coffin, and it ends up, I think she meets Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley. I can't remember the other two, and then you come to find out it's Vlad the Impaler chasing her. And I was like, well played. And the person who did the art for it knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then I know she's doing there's a second series where she's making fun of The Shape of Water.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
And
it's so funny.
I'm waiting for that to come out, and then the second part of the current storyline too. So it's like it's a fun read. I'm happy that they're doing another medium with her too.
That's just what you do. You evolve and crank it out, and then it just continues the stories about her more.
Yeah. Come on, time traveling Elvira. Like I said, she fits in every time period.
Yes.
And it's funny, like I think when she meets Mary Shelley, she starts talking about Frankenstein's monster. It was prior to her even writing the book. So it makes it seem
so
like
it's kind of Forrest Gumping.
Yeah. She was there all these amazing moments in time, and she helped inspire all of these creations to be created.
Yeah. It was funny. So I was like, I'm waiting to see the end of that one.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I do wish we'd get more of her. Maybe like AMC or some of these other places still do horror hosting things like big movie. I know she said that it was hard when in 2010 or 14 she tried redoing it again to find movies that are in public domain. But I think somebody should just bite the bullet and say, hey, let's buy the rights for this, get you on for like some current and newer stuff. Like, could you imagine her doing Exorcist?
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like, come on, somebody help her out, man.
I do remember there was this one documentary that I saw. I think it was on AMC years ago. This might have been like the first time I actually saw Elvira, but they had like a documentary series going on where she was the hostess, and she talked about women in horror movies, or like famous women icons in horror movies, like going all the way back to the Hammer horror Dracula films, going all the way to, Beyond Carrie and so-and-so. She started the segment with like, well, these women, they don't kiss and tell, they kiss and kill. I was like, go on. I just kind of like inched myself closer to the television, and like the 12-year-old me, like, please continue. And after that, I just wanted to like see more about her, and it was just a really fun documentary, and she made it fun, as well as like seeing all the images and the clips from all these great movies from the past. Good stuff, though. I just remember that was my first experience, I think, as a kid.
Yeah. I remember watching it a lot with my dad, just the old show. So it makes sense, because like he's the one who also introduced me to Mystery Science Theater. I'm just saying, if they can always make a comeback, she can always make a comeback.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
They're very similar.
I don't really have much to say other than what I already said, that I just feel like she's iconic, and I don't want to see her stop until she says that she's ready to stop, and then at that point I'll respect it and say, okay, great.
I want to meet her.
Oh, yeah.
I still want to meet her.
I mean, I'd say off the top of my head, Kat Dennings would be somebody to replace her, and I'm making that pitch. I am.
I'll support that pitch, because I can see it happening.
Even if it was a biography movie or something, a resurgence of Elvira, and then like give a little more in depth to the character and stuff like that, I think that would be really cool. Maybe even have Cassandra Peterson play Elvira's mom or something.
Yeah.
Just as like a passing the torch kind of thing, if they want to do like a film route with it instead.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious to see like the animated. If she is gonna go the animated route too, I want to see like, yes, she's already done. I think it was the one Scooby-Doo movie. She's on the second one now. But like ultimately, I'd rather see her by herself. Don't get me wrong, Scooby-Doo's fun watch, but Elvira by herself would probably be a better.
Yeah, not a
film.
censored.
Yeah.
I guess we said everything that we could.
That about wraps it up, yeah.
Unless you guys have any other...
No.
Unpleasant dreams. Just continue having unpleasant dreams.
Well, with that being said, Cassandra Peterson, we thank you for Elvira and everything you've done. We think it's a fantastic character, and congratulations on your longevity, and happy birthday, by the way.
Yes.
So, with all of us big fans, this is our Elvira tribute, and with that, we shall sign off. This is Colin Peters,
John Rochetter,
And Jeff Manfred.
Stay safe, stay crazy, and unpleasant dreams, everybody.
Please, somebody help me.
Oh yeah.